where I guarantee you X amount of dollars per year. And with that X amount of dollars per year, I'm able to structure you buying or me selling that property by way of a lease to own buyer. So that's how I'm structuring it. I'm going to base it on the numbers that they give me. If I don't know the neighborhood. If I do know the neighborhood, that's easy. You use your formula. Your formula says this, yada, yada, yada. So I can always give an offer in most cases when I know the value in the neighborhood and or I got a seller that knows something about value. Now, let's say the seller was wrong. The offer I'm giving is contingent upon me coming to the property. It's contingent upon me after I get off the phone, I'm going to do my own due diligence. I'm going to find out what the value is in that neighborhood. I'm going to find out what the house across the street did sell for. I'm going to find out that the house need repairs. So once I go to the property, Mr. Seller, my offer was based on the information you gave me. I noticed you need about $15,000 worth of repairs. I'm sorry, but I can't offer you that now. That's how you structure and be a transaction engineer. You give the offer prior to going to the property to make sure you got a motivated seller. And if the seller comes close to your offer, then you go to the property to see it. Because the last thing you want to do is to run out and look at 150 houses and then get not one under contract because you never knew how much that seller wanted. Oh, I'm a real estate investor. Yeah, well, I got a call. Oh, man, goodness gracious, I'm going to get a deal. No. The phone will ring. Get used to it. Don't get overexcited about the phone ringing. That don't mean anything. You're in the business where if you're doing it right, the phone will ring. What you want to do is listen to the numbers. A deal only consists of two aspects, the motivation and the numbers. When I'm talking about the motivation, I need to know why they're selling. What is the main reason they're selling? What's keeping them up at night? When I'm talking about the numbers, I need to know what is the actual repair value. I need to know what is the actual repairs. I need to know how much do they owe on their mortgage. I need to know how much is their actual mortgage payment. And I need to know how much do they want. 5 numbers. The motivation and the numbers. With those 5 numbers, I can structure any kind of deal. Does that answer your question? Mm-hmm. I'm listening.
You said that, you said you could give me an offer. And then after you couldn't give him an offer, I said, you see the problem?
I did give him an offer.
No, he hung up.
Okay.
He wanted money right then, what you was going to offer.
I'm sorry, what's your question? You're talking about in your situation. You don't, what's your question?
The question was when he said, well, I got a letter. You said you could give me an offer right now. I said, well, let me see the property.
Well,
so he said,
okay.
You said you could give me an offer.
Well, I just told you how to handle that.
Right, yeah.
So how you handle that is getting the information from the seller, then giving them an offer based on the information. But you're not going to handle it just by saying, I need to see the property. No, you don't need to see the property to give them an offer. No one needs to see the property to give them an offer. You may need to do due diligence to give them an offer because they may not have any information for you, but you don't need to see the property to give them an offer. You only need to see the property to close the deal. And we don't even need to do that. We're buying properties in 6 different markets. The only properties I see are properties where I get pictures when we got closings going to happen. I don't go to any of my properties. So you don't need to see the property. Any other questions? Yes. Mm-hmm. When I talk about after repair value, of course, you know I'm talking about comps. So I'm basing my offers if I'm looking at your simplified Mayo formula. 65% minus the after repair value, minus the repairs, minus the profit I want to make. That's how I'm structuring the deal.
So what are the other 5 in the money and the numbers?
Sure, the numbers, the 5 numbers that you want is how much the seller wants to sell, what's the after repair value, what are the repair costs, what is the actual mortgage payment, and what is the actual mortgage balance. Those are the numbers that count. No problem. Now, going back to the website, going back to your online presence. How many of you guys knew that only 7% of your visitors that go to your landing page will scroll down? Their decision to scroll down and stay on your website depends on what they see right here, what's called above the fold. If it's not relevant to what they need from you, they will not only scroll down, but they will leave your website. You have 7 seconds to get them to scroll down. A goldfish has more attention span than we do. You only have 7 seconds because of the low attention span that your prospect has. I think a goldfish has 9 seconds. Other aspects of the site: credibility. Sites or information like as seen on. Also, designations like Better Business Bureau. These trust factors build credibility. It builds the fact that the person wants and can trust to do business with you. Once again, your identity, your privacy policy, contact information, identity, your logo, usability. These are factors that all should be on your landing page for your website. Mm-hmm. As a bonus for you guys, those of you that take pictures and leave a comment on Facebook, I'll give you all these PowerPoint slides. And it doesn't just have to be Facebook. It could be any social site. Just talk about how you like this presentation and put in the actual hashtag Real Deal Meetup, and you'll get the PowerPoint slides. As well as on meetup.com, just leave a review. Tell me what you think about the presentation. And of course you're going to love it, because those of you that don't love it won't get the slides. Just joking, just joking. No, I'm not. Okay. Where are the deals? Charles, you talked about the conversion mechanism, but where do I find the deals? One of our favorite spots for one of my favorite exit strategies is the actual rent court at 501 Fayette Street. I love the courthouse. My mastermind students love the courthouse. My clients love the courthouse. And because of that, there's opportunity galore. What kind of opportunity? One of my favorite strategies, and I apologize for this pop-up. I have no idea why it keeps coming up. But one of my favorite strategies is Pretty in Pink. That was a strategy. I like to give myself credit as starting it. I didn't make it up. But my partner gave the name, my former partner, Kenneth Gills, gave the name Pretty in Pink. It's basically eviction filings. The beauty of this strategy is that it hits every part of what we talked about when it comes to identifying a transactional engineer seller. And here's what I mean by that. Look at, actually, if I'm not mistaken, that's Corey right there. No, I'm just joking. That's how much he goes down there to the courthouse. This is what's called the pinks. Now, the strategy is this. You go to the courthouse, go to the level where you can get what's called failure to pay rent notices. Once you grab these failure to pay rent notices, you have information on there that's green with gold. And what I mean by that, these are landlords that have filed for eviction from their tenants. The wedding is over. I want you out the house, and you can take the dog. So go ahead and call Tyrone. What this notice tells you is money. First part of the notice, it tells you who the landlord is, where they live at. Now, in order to do direct mail marketing, all you need to know is where the landlord lives at, what their address is, and the property you want to target. So you have where they're living at, you have the property that's being evicted from the tenant, you have how much the properties are renting for, you also have the landlord's telephone number. That's money. You got a landlord that is evicting a tenant, and based on their motivation, that's a deal where you could take over the payment and do a lease with option to buy. That's the deal where you could take over and do a guaranteed rent. That's the deal you could take over and do tenant placement. There's so much opportunity there in that deal. And for those of you that are uncomfortable calling, you can send a letter. So, what is the main criteria I'm looking for? I'm trying to establish when I call that person, when I see this notice. I'm looking to see, is this a regular investor who owns one or two properties, who is filing underneath of their own name and not an LLC? It's not a property management company. I'm looking for that investor that lives in Washington, D.C., that's a full-time employer or employed individual, and they said they could come to Baltimore and buy some $25,000, $50,000 houses and make a fortune in real estate being a landlord, and now they're evicting tenants. I'm looking for that investor who is being hounded by their wife because she told them so. It don't work. That's what I'm looking for. Those are the individuals that's going to let you take over payments. I got a property off of Barclay by North Avenue. And this property was set up as 2 units, commercial on one, which is in the basement, and it has a house or regular 3-1 on the first floor or second floor. And the owner owned the actual commercial part of it, which is actually a beauty salon, and they was renting the property. They was renting the property for a good 8-9 months, and then it went vacant for 2 years. They put all this money in the property to put it in rental condition. It wasn't in rehab condition. It was in rental condition. And they left it vacant because being a landlord put a nasty taste in their mouth. So they had the income coming in from the beauty salon. All they wanted was somebody to take over the property. But they didn't know that before they called us, because we made that offer, because we looked at deals as a transaction engineer. The deal, $700 up each and every month on our guaranteed rent program. What is our guaranteed rent program? Well, Mr. Seller, we guarantee that we will take over your mortgage payment each and every month, regardless if your property is occupied or vacant. And we'll do that for 2, 3, 5 years. You don't have to worry about any major repairs at all. We will even take care of minor repairs. And we will give you, for month one, $700 each month, regardless if your property is vacant or occupied. Now, what we did with that property, we took it over, gave us $700 a month, and we rent out the property as 4 rooms. Our net gross on that, those 4 rooms, or should I say our gross on those 4 rooms is $2,200 a month. It cost us $2,000 to put the property back on the market. We're making a total of $975 positive cash flow per month. Taking over an unwanted property, giving the seller what they need, and thinking of the highest and best use by way of guaranteed lease or guaranteed rents, which is known as master leasing. Huh? I can't hear you.
Beauty salon is still
Yes, the beauty salon is on the first level. This is a corner property. So the beauty salon is on the first level on the side. So yes. Now, master leasing comes from the commercial side of the business. Years ago, I used to own 30 plus apartment buildings in downtown Baltimore, Mount Vernon Properties, over 250 units. At the time, I was the largest minority owner of apartment buildings in downtown Baltimore. And it came from learning all the strategies I did with commercial investing. A strategy in commercial investing is something called a master lease, where you structure the transaction to take care of all the aspects of it. Now, this is a hybrid of it, because we're not taking care of taxes or none of that kind of stuff. All we're doing is taking care of the mortgage payment. But that's how this guaranteed rent program came about, for me thinking and learning about master leasing, but adding my own twist to it. The question is, can you do this for pre-foreclosure? And the answer is, depending on where you are and depending on the actual situation with the pre-foreclosure. For example, in Maryland, they got a law called Protection of the Homeowner Foreclosure Act, PIFA. The PIFA law states that if a landlord or an owner is 60 days late on their property or more, you as an investor cannot buy that house if they still live in that house. Owner occupied. You can't buy it. If they don't live on it, you can buy it. So the question you're asking me revolves around, well, does it make sense if the property in pre-foreclosure, how much will it take to catch up the mortgage payment? So yes, you could do it that way if the numbers make sense. If it makes sense taking over the mortgage payment, catching it up and bringing it forward, as long as it doesn't fall underneath PIFA law. Now, as I mentioned, the hybrid to this is where you accompany this strategy with slide broadcast. How many of you guys know what slide broadcast is? Look like most of the mastermind students. Slide broadcast is a website that would allow you to send a voice broadcast to anyone's cell phone without their phone ringing. Think about this. You can upload an Excel spreadsheet with, let's say, 100 phone numbers from Craigslist into slide broadcast and put a pre-recorded message into slide broadcast. And it will send that pre-recorded message directly to your seller's cell phone. The pre-recorded message is this. Hi, I saw your property on Craigslist. If you're willing to be flexible on price and/or terms, please give me a call. I would love to talk to you about buying your house today. My telephone number is fill in the blank. Look forward to talking to you soon. Once again, this is Charles, and you can reach me at fill in the blank. That's your voice broadcast message. You upload it into Slide Broadcast, and you tell Slide Broadcast, send this message out to these 100 telephone numbers on Thursday. And it sends that same message to those 100 telephone numbers from Craigslist on Thursday. They get the message and say, oh, how did I miss this call? Well, this must be a real buyer. He actually called me. He's not one of those Craigslist scams where they try to send me an email. Think about that. It goes directly to their phone, so automatically it knocks down the apprehension that you're a scammer because you called them. Now, wouldn't it be easier for you to close somebody if they call you back as opposed to you calling them? Because now you don't have that, oh God, the phone is, oh my goodness, I don't know if I can call this person. Goodness, golly. Okay. You want to get away from that approach of cold calling. So when a person calls you, it empowers you. It makes you pump your chest up, stand up straight. Man, I know what I'm doing. I got the phone ringing. So it breaks that issue of fear. Now, I got a theory. The person who came up with that program wanted to break up with their girlfriend. And they wanted to say, I tried to reach you, but it just went straight to your voicemail. That's my theory. That's how that program came about. But that program has made my company, my mastermind students, my clients, a lot of money. James, you still in the room? But tell them when you started your Slide Broadcast campaign, how many calls? Mm-hmm. So he's writing up offers probably out there. Thank you. How much does Slide Broadcast cost? To put 100 numbers in Slide Broadcast, it costs you $10. Knowledge is power. Applied knowledge is profit. $10. So you create a system where you do a Slide Broadcast at least once a week. You put 100 phone numbers in there at least once a week. You have the system automated so that now that phone call goes out once a week, every Friday. You have just systemized and automated one process in your marketing business.
Is there an option to use that approach and do calls on an individual basis and personalize it? So I'm saying, hi, Charles.
The question is there a way you can do that where you just want to do one call at a time? Yes. Their individual call website is called Slide Dial, where it would allow you to put one number at a time. Slide Broadcast allows you to put multiple numbers at a time. So the website is slidedial.com if you want to do one number at a time, and slidebroadcast.com if you want to do multiple numbers at a time. Can you dig it? Come on. Don't fall asleep on me now. Is this too much information for you? No. Do you want me to stop? No. Can you dig it?
Yes, we can.
He's mad, I tell you.
Okay. Another underground source for me, where we get a boatload of deals from, is a little publication called the Maryland Daily Record. You can get the online version, the newspaper version, or a combination of both. This is huge. As a matter of fact, I have never shared this strategy with anyone other than my mastermind students. The daily record gives you what's called legal notices. For those of you who don't know, most foreclosure proceedings, judicial proceedings, civil proceedings, has to be given legal notices to creditors, legal notices to anybody that has interest in that property. That legal notice can be up to 3 times in most cases. This is the publication for Maryland where you can find all those legal notices. So what I mean by legal notices, if somebody is being foreclosed on, the mortgage company puts the information in here. If somebody is going through divorce, they put the information in here. Somebody's going through probate, they put the information in here. Legal notice. So, one of the things we use, and I can't believe I'm sharing this. But you know why I'm sharing it? Because here's the honest truth. If I share it with 1,000 of you, only 10 of you are going to do something with it. That's the truth. So why do I give the kitchen sink when I do the real deal meetup? Because I know most of you ain't going to be my competition. I mean, if we told, prove me wrong. I want you to prove me wrong. That's what fuels my fire. When I see Brittany Calloway coming up behind, I got to stay 2 steps ahead. I love for you guys to be successful because it makes me hungry. And I'll be honest with you, when you start making money, you need motivation. Because money has a way of making you say, I don't have to work hard now. I got this. I'm going on vacation next week. I'm going on vacation next month. I'm going to take another vacation in 2 months. So if I had to give you one piece of advice, when you start making money, stay hungry. Daily record. What I'm looking for when I use this strategy, I call this the PIFA loophole. I mentioned a little bit about the Protection of Homeowner and Foreclosure Act, where you cannot, and I mean this, if you try to buy a property from a homeowner that is going through foreclosure and they're 60 days late on their mortgage, if you don't abandon that deal at that point in time, you can go to jail in Maryland. This is a loophole.
A quick question. What if they've already gone through foreclosure, but the homeowner has been in the house for, let's say, 5 years. They've already gone through foreclosure. The homeowner, somebody lost papers. I don't know what the case is, but the homeowner is still in the property. Nobody has done anything.
Okay.
Can you do anything?
It still falls underneath the law because the law says if they're 60 days late on their mortgage or more, they're 5 years late in your situation. This is what I call the PIFA loophole. And I can't believe I'm sharing this with you guys. Goodness. The loophole from PIFA is if they're late on their mortgage 60 days or more. It doesn't apply if it's a tax sale foreclosure. So, if the property is being foreclosed on because of tax sale, it doesn't apply to the law. They can live in the property, it doesn't matter. Because they're being foreclosed on because of tax sale. So what we are doing, I'm going to give you one of the case studies, the deal we actually closed on February the 2nd. Or was it the 10th? It was one of the two. We are using the daily record, legal notices, and we're looking for any case that says right of redemption, collector of taxes. Right of redemption from the collector of taxes. Key factor. You got the property address and you got the owner's name. Key factors. So, this property here, 7700 block of Lee Drive, Anne Arundel County, is the property we're talking about. It was an inherited property. We closed it on February the 10th. We purchased it for $65. The rehab cost is $85. The R is $265. Now, I left out the most important part. Do you want to hear the most important part about the metric on this deal? The most important part about this deal is there was no mortgage on the property. So, what you're looking for is any tax right of redemption filing that does not have a mortgage in the transaction. And we got this deal from a letter that we sent out to the owner. That's what you're looking for. Tax, sale, foreclosure filing that has no mortgage on it. How do you check if there's a mortgage? You go to judicial case search and you pull up the actual case. And it tells you all of the actual creditors of record. And if you don't see that there is a mortgage company as one of the creditors of record, ka-ching, ka-ching, profit is waiting for you to negotiate. This one strategy alone should have been worth the amount of money you paid to come here today.
We're a little slow. We're just a little.
Okay. I know you tired. I know you tired. I know you tired. I know you tired. I know.
I'm going to double my money.
Right of redemption. Yes.
So if they have creditors, do you have to pay their creditors off in front of the
Well, the answer to your question is a foreclosure from a tax sale. If you had, or if, because there's two ways you could do this. If you took over the right to foreclosure, you wouldn't have to pay the creditors off. If you're doing it the way we did, yes, you would have to pay off whatever the credit is or negotiate what it is. Yes. But the main creditor you're looking for is a mortgage. That's the big bucks there. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh. Any more questions regarding this?
I have a question.
Shoot.
You may have answered this and I was talking, so I apologize.
Mm-hmm.
Can you negotiate back taxes? And if so, where can we go or?
The question is, can you negotiate back taxes? And we were talking about here. Are we talking about tax lien certificates? Yeah. You can negotiate the tax lien certificate to the extent of taking it over, but most tax lien certificate holders is not going to want to get less on their return. So the likelihood of that is 0 to none.
What if it's not a tax lien?
And if it's a tax lien, you can negotiate any. If it's a tax lien, you can negotiate any lien. It's just a matter of negotiating. I didn't say you can't negotiate a tax lien, but what I'm saying, the likelihood of them taking less is very low.
What if there's a property,
Mm-hmm.
house is free and clear,
Mm-hmm.
except the sellers owe taxes? No, there's no lien on it just yet, but they owe taxes.
That's the city. That's still, if it hasn't been to the point where it's a tax lien certificate filing on it, that's taxes that's owed to the city. No. The likelihood of that is very low. Almost non-existent. My 5 laws to guarantee success in real estate investing. Law number 1, clarify your direction. Know which way you want to go. I talked about not being a one-trick pony, and I mean that. But you got to start somewhere. So start off with that one trick and master that one trick and add more tricks to that pony. That one trick could be a wholesale or rehab or buy and hold investor. But then you add guaranteed rent. You add tenant placement. You add lease with option to buy. You add multiple strategies. And think about this. You don't have to be doing these multiple strategies. You could add the resource of the people that's doing them and have them pay you a finder's fee. So you don't have to do all these strategies I'm talking about. Know who are the tenant placement people. Know who are the guaranteed rent people. Know who are the rent to own people. Know who are the lease with option to buy people. And when those deals come across your desk, give this person a call. I got this deal. You willing to pay a finder's fee? I got this deal. You willing to pay a finder's fee? I got this deal. You willing to pay a finder's fee? I make between $5,000 to $7,000 a month just referring tenant placement deals over to other tenant placement companies. My marketing brings in these leads. I create a relationship with my JV partners where I send them the lead. They close the deal and we split the deal 50-50 on tenant placement. So you don't have to master these strategies. Know the individuals who have mastered them, and when they come across your desk, push it to them. But I teach my mastermind students to learn one strategy, then add another tool, add another tool, add another tool to that toolbox. Because when that toolbox or that first tool run dry, where wholesale deals aren't around, you can still eat. You can still make money. Every pond runs out of fish sometimes. That's the key. How many guys in here is doing wholesaling? Raise your hand. How many guys in here are doing rehabbing? Raise your hand. How many guys is doing buy and hold? Raise your hand. How many guys doing tenant placement? Raise your hand. How many doing rent to own? Raise your hand. You go where they are. If they're in meetups, you go to the meetups. If they're in meetup groups, you contact them through the meetup groups. If they're at RIAs, you go to the RIA meetings. You go where they are. You do a search on Google. Rent to own investors. The first 20 pages, we do rent to own, we do rent to own, we do rent to own. Tenant placement companies, the first 20 pages, we do tenant placement, we do tenant placement, we do tenant placement. That's the easy part. Strategize your actions. Keep this in mind. The investor that pimps this strategy out, what we call real estate, is the investor that works beyond 7 p.m. to 2 a.m. 7 to 2 is the I got a job and I'm going to quit hours. At 7 to 2 in the evening, we sitting back, relaxing, listening to The Voice, Power, you name it. That's what we're doing between 7 p.m. and 2 in the morning. The investor that's a house hustler, he just started. So think about the gravy hours and continue past the lazy hours. 7 p.m. to 2 in the morning. Now, the reason why I say 2 in the morning, because you need a few hours sleep. No one needs 8 hours sleep. Trust me. Well, so maybe some of you do. I can't remember, well, the last time I had 8 hours sleep, I was in a hospital bed in narcotics with a bad back. But I have to admit, that was the best sleep I had in a long while. Woo! But the point I'm trying to make, work past where everybody else is working. If you want to take it to that next level, don't think of it as a hobby. Think of it as a lifestyle. That's the key. Yes.
So for all y'all who raise your hand, we have deals, we need money. Please see me before you leave.
No. You go see them before you leave.
There we go.
It's not please see me. You want the money, you go get it.
It was many of them, and only one of me. I didn't see all of them.
Okay. Okay, upgrade your skills. Always add, always get more information. Try to get more information. Try to learn more. Even this strategy I talked about, the PIFA strategy, the PIFA hack, what I like to call it sometimes, I didn't invent it. It just came from a problem that existed. The problem is, if there's a mortgage payment or a mortgage being foreclosed on, and the person lives in the property, you can't buy it. Well, is there a way you can get around it? Well, yes. The law says there's a way you can get around it if the property is a tax sale foreclosure. So, upgrade your skills. Always educate yourself. Understand that very few things in this business is new, unless we're referring to technology. The exception to what I just said is when laws are enacted, when laws are put in place that require certain maneuvers in the roadway. But besides that, people have been doing options for 100 years. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, they were doing options in the Roman Colosseum. So, this is not a strategy that I created. Most of what I'm doing is stuff I learned over the years from trial and error and from my mentors that I've studied with, and then had the opportunity to work and do. Because remember, I only teach what I do, not what I read about. Optimize your environment. This is important. If you hang around broke friends, you're going to be a broke friend. Now, I'm not telling you to be a snob. Never forget where you come from. Take people who were there with you. Exactly. But know where the friendship ends and your business begin. Your desire for change in your life begin. Know that separation. Know where that line is at. When you know where that line is at and where that line should not be crossed, no one is going to knock you off balance. And I said this earlier, action plus offers equal profits. put a plan in place when you leave today where you will put out no less than 10 offers a week, every week, for the next 3 months. With a closing ratio of 10%, that's 1 deal a week, 4 deals a month. You want to know how you do 4 deals a month? I just gave you a way you do it. Offers, offers, offers. Now, and of course, I don't need to say these have to be good offers. Do I really need to say that? Okay. Okay. The Napoleon Hill factor in real estate. Desire, specialized knowledge, mastermind, entrepreneur spirit, and being decisive. Nothing else comes between that. Nothing. Now, I mentioned earlier, you don't have to be a full-time investor to make money in this business. So I want you to take that away too. I'm not telling everyone they need to be a full-time investor. I got individuals that love their job. One of my business partners, Bob Prasad, he's a pilot at Southwest Airlines. He grew up loving flying planes. And he will never quit flying planes. But he owns a boatload of commercial properties in downtown Baltimore. And we do a lot of deals together. So you don't have to give up what you love to do real estate investing. They can work together. You just got to have the right process and the right system in place. Each and every one of us know what financial independence means to us. You decide what it means to you. And that's your goal. The option strategy. This strategy is used when an investor thinks he or she can market and sell a property quickly. Now, I'm talking about what's called a straight option. A straight option is where you got a property and you can actually do wholesale deals with a straight option. Where you have a property where you know there's profit there based on the number you're at, and you put an option contract on that property. Option to buy in 30 days, 45 days for X amount of dollars. The X amount of dollars is the difference that you need in order to get the property sold. For example, the property is worth, your option contract says $65,000. You're going to market it for $75,000. You're going to make $10,000 on top of it. An option to buy for $65,000. An option just means I may buy it, I may not buy it. And here's my consideration for considering the option. Here's the dollar amount I'm willing to give you for saying yes to this option agreement. So let's go into what an option agreement and option looks like. There is no right of possession. You can either go through with the transaction or not. Your only loss is your deposit you give the seller. There's no specific time frame is usually 30 to 90 days. Because that's how much you're usually going to get a seller to say yes in regards to you with the option. Now there's other ways, or should I say there's other approaches when we're talking about options on land, where we involve the actual due diligence process to do deals with land development. But we're talking about residential here. The option consideration can be as low as $1. Now, I don't want you to go out there and put $1 down as an option consideration. But it can be as low as $1. We usually put $50 to $100 down on an option contract. Why? Oh, let's just say, there's this little law called law of suitability. And it says when one party has an overwhelming knowledge over another party and that party takes advantage of that party, the actual action that was given to that party can be overturned. So if you as an investor get a property under contract for $1 And that homeowner says, well, Judge, I didn't want to sell my property. He out-slicked me, and he gave me $1 for it, the contract. That judge is going to say, you took advantage of that person. Because the proportion of the profit does not make sense when it comes to, or should I say the proportion of the deal doesn't make sense when it comes to the consideration. You gave the person $1. So, I know you can make money with little or no money down in real estate investing. 50, 10, $100. Stay away from the dollars. Another great reason for options is the fact that it allows you, when selling price is agreed upon at a time that the option contract is signed, you lock the seller in based on this price when you sign the contract. This is the price I'm going to buy it at. And that option, if you're talking about a 1 or 2 year option, that could be a set price for 2 years. And that property could go up in value. But you've got a set price that you're giving the seller, which means you capture the difference between the set price and the sales price. And the investor is not obligated to purchase the property. Hence the word option to buy. He can, or he can choose not to. The lease purchase strategy, this strategy is used when the seller wants a buyer or his buyers who buys property at the end of the lease. So, when the seller says, yeah, you can take over the property, but I want somebody to buy it. I don't want to keep this property with you giving me payments for 10 years. Somebody's got to buy it. That's your lease purchase strategy. The buyer gets possession and limited control of the property, but they have a predetermined time frame in which they're going to buy the property. If not, there's a contingency or a clause that states, here's what happens if this property has to roll back past the lease purchase period. 1, the seller may be forced to give the property back and lose all deposits. Or 2, the buyer may have the option to buy or extend the contract for a predetermined time for a profit or for a dollar amount given to the seller. Yes. The only regulations for owner financing is when the owner is selling to an actual home buyer, not when the owner is selling to an investor. What you're referring to is Dodd-Frank. And Dodd-Frank revolves around owner to homeowner, not owner to investor. That it could. The Trump card is saying it may, but it still hasn't happened yet. The selling price agreed upon the time of the contract is signed, once again, the buyer must purchase the property at the end of the term. And yes, it can be assignable. I never assign my lease. What I mean by my lease purchases, I know investors that put these properties under lease purchase or rent to own, and then they sell their right to do the rent to own to another investor. I never do that. Because I told my owner, my seller, that I will go through with the full transaction. You can do it. And I know investors that do it. They assign their lease option contracts. You can do it. As long as it's written in the contract. That's the key. the guaranteed rent strategy or master leasing. This strategy works best when the investor plans on renting to an end renter or renters. And when I say renter or renters, I'm talking about renting it out as a normal rental or finding highest and best use and using boarding house. That's when the guaranteed rent strategy works best. Think about this. There are tons of property out there that people will say, just take over the payments. That's all I want is someone to take over my payments. You just have to determine whether or not the payments are worth taking over based on the numbers. That's what we're dealing with. It's all about the numbers. Hold on one sec. I'm going to try one more thing. I think there's no, there's not a window open. I thought there was a window open. And if I close that window, maybe it wouldn't pop up anymore. Let me try something else. Let me go, this could work. Let me go offline and put it in airplane mode. And let's see if that stops the pop-up. Okay. The benefit to the seller on guaranteed rent, the investor relieves the seller with minor repair costs. I tell all of my guaranteed rent sellers that I will take care of all minor repairs for the 2 or 3 years I'm doing guaranteed rent on their property. They have to deal with any major mechanical. And I spell out what major mechanical is. Major issues with plumbing, major issue with electrical, major issue with the roof, major issues with heating. Any major mechanicals they're responsible for, all minor repairs I'll be responsible for 3 years, 2 years. I don't want anything less than 2 years. I want that cash every month to come in. Think about these guaranteed rent deals as putting 10, 15, 20 taxi cabs on the street each month. And they're paying you off $500 here, $600 here, $800 here, $900 here. Now you don't have to work, you choose to work. That's the goal. It relieves the actual seller of vacancy. The guaranteed rent program says that I will cover any vacancy regardless if the property is vacant or occupied. I will make you that payment. No ifs, ands, or buts. I will give you a payment each and every month. Landlords love that. Think about this. This guaranteed rent strategy is so powerful. You can have the seller, or should I say the landlord, pay you to do this. I've structured deals where the seller's mortgage payment was $1,400. So I had to go tell the seller or the landlord, the only way I can do this property is if you're willing to take $900 of that payment. I can make the other $500. And the seller has said yes. Why? Because I'm giving them relief. They had a nut of $1,400 a month. They couldn't rent the property. And now I relieve that nut from $1,400 to just $900, and all they have to worry about now is $500. So think in terms of the numbers. Throw that seller a rope, but you don't want to drown with them. Structure your deal so you're not drowning. Make it a win-win for everyone. You don't need a license to do this. With an option contract with guaranteed rent, you don't need to be a realtor. Anyone can do this, unlicensed. You have what's called equitable position in the property with your contract, with your option agreement. Law states that for equitable position in the property, it gives me certain inalienable rights that I can use that property. And the equitable position in the property is the option agreement, the option contract. So I can manage, I can rent, I can do whatever I want. And I don't need to be a licensed realtor. The investor will make the spread between what they pay the seller and what you collect. That's the key to guaranteed rent. Highest and best use, a normal rental, $1,200 a month. If I look at the neighborhood, I look at the property, and I say I can make this a boarding house, I'm at $2,000 to $2,400 a month. I can even create what you call subset income. I can put wash machine and dryer in there and charge for the use of that. I can add air condition and charge for the use of that. I can add cable and charge for the use of that. I can add telephone lines and charge for the use of that. I can add ceiling fans and charge for the use of that. I can add complete bedroom set and charge for the use of that. Thinking outside the box. Lease option strategies fundamentals. Give the investor the right to possess, control, and purchase the property. That's what we're talking about here. Control and roll. It's that simple. Specific time frame, usually 1 year or greater. Option consideration can be as low as $1. Selling price agreed upon is the contract signed. The investor is not obligated to purchase, and it's assignable. What makes lease option a killer strategy? Simple. When you make money controlling this property, you have 3 ways to make money in the deal. Let's go back to Real Estate 101. Real Estate 101 is this. There's only 3 parts to a deal, and those 3 parts to the deal, if you control them correctly, you can make a huge amount of profit. The first part is the actual price in which you pay for the property, which is called the first side. The B side is the actual spread and the actual cost it costs for you to repair the property, the work that's needed, and so on. And the C side is the actual closing process that you have when you sell the property and the actual cost it costs you to sell the property. Real estate commission, closing costs, seller contribution. So when you control the A, the B, and the C side of a deal and maximize the numbers on the A, the B, and C side of a deal, you will make huge profits. Maximize the numbers on the A side. I got the property for as low as I possibly could. Maximize the numbers on the B side. I got my work done. Great job doing the work. The contractors came in under budget, saved money on the contract costs. Maximize the profit on the C side. Didn't have to give a seller contribution. I had to only deal with one side when it came to the selling side of the property on the real estate commission. I iced it on the sell side, only 2 days, only 3 days sale. That's controlling all 3 sides of the transaction. When you control all 3 and maximize the profits of all 3, you will make huge profits in this building. If you control 2 of the 3, you can make a good profit, but it's not going to be as good as controlling all 3. Now, on an option deal, the 3 sides of profits is on the option consideration amount. The money that you get from the person who's going to do the rent option from you. It's called consideration. That dollar amount can be $3,000, $5,000, $10,000, $15,000. That's one profit center. The second profit center is the dollar amount that you make between the spread you give the owner and what you charge the rent to own buyer. That's your second profit center. And your third profit center is the dollar amount you sell the property to the rent-to-own buyer. So you have 3 profit centers when you're doing a rent-to-own deal. 3. Truth be told, out of all the rent-to-own deals I've done, I can count on one hand where the actual rent-to-own buyer bought them for me. Truth be told. Why is this not a bad thing? Because perfect answer. Because when the person doesn't want to go through with the rent-to-own, I just basically move another person in and start back over again. As long as I got the right from the seller. It depends on the seller's motivation. It depends. If you structure it that way, it's not an assumption, it's in the contract. Your contract will state whether they're paying into it or not. So it's not an assumption. If your contract say it is, it is. If your contract say it's not, they're not. And you as the investor, it's up to you to spell out what's in the contract and what contribution will be applied to rent, if any. It's not written anywhere that you have to contribute anything towards the actual purchase. You negotiate that and you figure out this is the best way to structure this rent-to-own deal. And here's the key part. There's large pools of sellers and buyers that want to do rent-to-own. All these families that are out here that was crushed from the mortgage bubble in 2008, 9, 10, and 11 are individuals that are used to being homeowners who was forced to rent. You got individuals that making a great amount of money, but because they lost their property in 2008 because of mortgage fraud, now their credit is so dinged up that they can't buy a house. Rent-to-own buyers. So there's huge opportunity. Case study, deal we did in Houston. Husband and wife relocated to Texas. Property has been listed for 9 months. The property was vacant. Purchased a new property in Texas, and we got a referral out of it. Let's break down the deal. The monthly mortgage payment was $3,500. The amount owed to the bank was $412,000, and the present market value was $629,000. The seller price to us, the investor, was $450,000. Our monthly payment to the owner was $1,800. The seller agreed to pay $1,700 each month. The leasing option for lease for 5 years, and the option fee paid was $100. The numbers. Selling price to the buyer was $520. The monthly payment was $2,600. Non-refundable option fee, $8,000. The lease option length was 18 months. Final numbers. Acquisition cost was finally $450,000. The selling price was $520,000. The back end profit, $62,000. The upfront money, $8,000. And of course, the contribution from the monthly payment. That's the power of rent to own. Now, like I said, 75% of your rent to own buyers is not going to go through the process. They're not. But when they do, if you structure the deal properly, you can make a killing. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, what'd you say? We got it under contract for $520. We sold it for $629.
I thought you got it under contract for $450.
No, the acquisition cost was $450. The selling price was $520. We sold it for $520. The back end profit was $62. The difference between here and here was the $62,000 profit. Mm-hmm. The present market value. The present. When you sell these deals, you can only get what the area would go for. So when the area goes down, you can only get what the actual appraised value would be at that point in time.
So over the 18 months,
Mm-hmm.
value change is 29.5.
Mm-hmm.
Fine, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Here's another point, a great point. No matter what you say you're going to sell the property for, if the appraisal doesn't come in at that, you can't get it. You can only get what it appraised for at the time of the sale. So when we purchased, the lesson we learned from 2 years ago from this deal was this. On the contract, we put on price to be determined at sales date. Price to be determined at sales date for the closing price. Seven common mistakes investors make using creative strategies. They don't present tenant buyers. They don't pre-screen tenant buyers. In our system, we don't do the screening. Our mortgage company does. The lender we're working with, they do the screening of the tenants. They tell us this person can get the property in 6 months if they do this. This person can get the property in 12 months if they do this. This person can get the property in 2 years if they do this. That's what my mortgage company job is for them to do. Secondarily, pay too much option consideration. You're going to say, well, why is putting down that you want a large option consideration a bad thing? Well, can the person afford it? Are you overpricing your market? The key here is know your market, know what they can afford, and use that as your metric. Underestimating the repairs. When you do rent to own, you got to bring that property back in great condition in order to own it out. You walk in the property and say the repairs is $6,000. Next thing you know, you're at $15,000. You're at $20,000. Now, instead of you getting 100% return on your money in a year, you're waiting 3-5 years to get 100% return on your investment. Know your numbers. The wrong neighborhood. Not all neighborhood will be a rent-to-own or structured creative strategy. When I'm doing tenant placement, I'm doing those in medium to great neighborhoods. When I'm doing boarding houses, I'm doing those into medium to low income areas. When I'm doing guaranteed rent, I'm doing that into medium to low income areas. When I'm doing rent to own, I'm doing that to medium to high income areas. Know your areas and determine which strategy makes best in that area. Waste time on unmotivated sellers. Remember, we talked about this. Know where your sellers are at. Know exactly what matters most to your sellers. What's keeping them up at night? Do they have a motivational need they need to scratch? If they do, then get them in your system as a seller. Not going after the big fish. Wow, that was a rent to own that had an original value of $600,000. Man, I don't know if I want to do that. I know a lot of people say that the difference between residential and commercial is zeros. That's true. It is. When I purchased with my partner the apartment buildings in downtown Baltimore, you could have told me that and I would have slapped you upside your head. Because we were scared. We were 2 years into maybe 4 years. 4 years into the business. And we had a 31 buildings in a 6-block radius of Mount Vernon with over 260 apartments for $5.1 million. Prior to doing that, we flipped maybe 20 houses, residential. So the fear of all those zeros was immense. But we knew that if we make this deal work, if we did what we knew, multiply what we've been doing over those last 2 years as partners, getting this property at $25,000, $35,000 per door in an area that we knew that would easily be worth $9, $10 million in 3 to 5 years, it would be a gold mine. It goes back to action plus offers equal profit. And you know what, guys? Ever since I did what I did, it still hasn't popped up since. So it must have been an issue with the internet. Okay. When we do postcards, this is the style postcards we're doing with the campaigns we do. This postcard right here is for individual absentee owners. We can also tailor it for owner-occupied, handwritten style. When we do the rentals, we're going after people that have rentals. This is a style postcard we do. Do you own a rental in Columbia, Maryland? Do you have a bad tenant? Are you considering costly evictions, and so on? Yellow letter, handwritten style. One of my best strategies, my man Kenneth came up with this strategy about 8 years ago, no, maybe 9 years ago. Before he passed away, this was huge. Referral business owner strategy. We put these placards in businesses, in stores, inside of a little plastic container, and on the back of it is an actual number. So when the person calls us from this being in a store, we give the owner of that store a referral fee. So we pay the owner of the referral fee for letting us put this on the counter in their stores, liquor stores, grocery stores, all over the city. Basically, you use a basic Excel spreadsheet to manage it. We've been using Podio to manage all the stores that the actual placards are in. And we make arrangement. We do a contract with the owners of the actual businesses, and we just put them in their businesses. Let their patrons walk in and grab the actual information. When we do door knocking, this is the type of sign of what we use. On one side, it has a $1,000 bill. On the other side, it talks about our referral program. So what we do different than other people is we would go knock on the door and let them know that we're looking to buy houses in that area. And when we knock on the door and let them know we're looking to buy houses in that area, we tell them about our referral program. If they know anybody that's interested in selling, please give us a call. So we're creating a, lack of a better word, a bird dog army from all the neighbors that we're driving for dollars. That's why I say be comfortable being uncomfortable. Knock on that door. The best marketing strategies for transaction engineering. Probate for personal representatives. Pretty in pink. Eviction filings. Clifton, do me a favor. Get Tammy. She'll know what it's for. Tell them about to do it already. Probate attorney to purchase attorneys. Probate attorney to probate attorneys. And what I mean by that is this strategy is going directly to the probate attorneys. And we send them a brochure. It's called a three pinch. The 3 pinch is they get a brochure, they get a fax, and they get a phone call. And yes, people still use faxes. The bankruptcy, we're going after relief of stay. And what I mean by relief of stay, remember, we're talking about motivational situation. A relief of stay is when somebody has been filed for bankruptcy and now the actual lender or mortgage company is telling the judge, I want to foreclose on this person. That's called a relief of stay. So we're going after all the court cases in bankruptcy where there's a house involved in the property where there's a relief of stay notice. Absentee owners, 3 to 4 levels deep. owner occupied, 3 to 4 levels deep. Driving for dollars with the door knocking, which I told you guys about. Driving for dollars, distressed homeowners with multiple owners. Notice of default, 30, 60, 90 days late, pre-foreclosure. The PIFA loophole strategy, I told you guys about, tax sales. And slide broadcasts, directory websites, any directory website. I just gave the actual thing of Craigslist, but I actually mean any directory website that gives you a telephone number. That's where you're going to be doing this strategy at. When I say great question. What I mean by 3 to 4 levels deep, for example, absentee owners, an absentee owner that lives in a particular zip code, that has equity in their property, that has 4 negative credit ratings. That's 4 level deep. So I'm talking about how many levels of issues I can put into that file. That's 4 levels deep. As opposed to what the gurus tell you, send out a letter to absentee owners with equity. No. The more levels deep you go, the more opportunity you will to make the deal. Because you got more targeted responses. And that's all I have for you. Is there any questions? Yes. I'm sorry, what did you say? The mastermind program, we got a new class starting up next weekend. So, yes, we are taking applications. It's only by application. This program has been extremely successful. So you have to apply to be a part of it. If you want to apply to be a part of it, you go to moremastermind.com. The next class is starting next week. So you can still have a chance to get approved and be a part of the program in 1 week because it's next week. In fact, my mastermind members will be here next week, Saturday and Sunday, through the whole mastermind session, the whole weekend. If you're unable to make next week, don't worry about it. You can have your another session prior after that. It doesn't count against you. But if you're able to make it and you do decide to be a part of the mastermind, you got to put in the application first, moremastermind.com. And we go into, on the website, we go into all the details, what the mastermind is all about, what you get with it, and so on. Any other questions?
So what do you use for your direct mail? Or is that like
I'm not going to stop you for a minute. First thing, I promised you guys your bonuses. So my team, Cliff, everybody, hand out those bonuses to everybody, please, and I'll continue with the questions. Thank you. Brian, could you help them? Mm-hmm.
Right, so is that like a particular service provider?
What was service providers for what?
For your direct mailing, handwritten postcards.
The question is there a service provider you can do for the direct mailing, handwritten postcards? We have our own service providers called realdealdirectmail.com. I give all you guys access to that site for free. Now, it's going to cost you to have the letters sent out and stuff, but to get the actual mail pieces we use, you get access to that for free at realdealdirectmail.com. Now, there's other services out there like yellowletter.com, yellowletterdirect.com. They'll do it as well, but you got multiple choices where you can get it from. Any other questions? Yes?
So when you go to rent court, they'll just give you the things?
Great question. When you go to rent court, how do you get them? You have to go down to the basement level and you just ask them, can I have the notice for failure to pay rent? And they'll give you a whole stack. They'll let you take and write down the information, but you can't take them home. Now, one of my mastermind students has a pocket scanner. So what he does is he scans them into his pocket scanner, and that's how he gets them. Yes? Mm-hmm.
What about in D.C.?
Okay, give it to the people. As far as Washington, D.C., we're not doing pretty in pinks in D.C., but you can do it in PG County, the Hyattsville courthouse.
No, what I'm asking, I went to the D.C. courthouse
Mm-hmm.
on 4th Street,
Mm-hmm.
and the woman told me they did not do that. So I'm
Okay.
just want to confirm, do they?
Yeah, I don't do it in D.C.
Okay.
You have to log in.
I'm sorry.
You got to log into the computer and get the information.
She said you actually can do them in D.C. You got to log into the computer to get the information.
Cliff, you have more?
Yes.
not paying rent.
Right.
So the strategy is, I guess, to let them continue to pursue the renters and get them out the property?
That's correct. The strategy is let them go through with the foreclosure, or should I say the eviction of the tenant, and let you take over the property at that point.
Okay.
Now, I'm going to also say it depends, because depending on how good of a deal it is, I may take over the desire to go ahead and evict that person if I want to get a deal quick enough. So it depends. But more often than not, you're going to let that person continue with the eviction and take over the property. The question is, where do I get my option contracts? They was formulated by myself years ago when I got into this business, and that's where my mastermind students get. They get the contracts that I've been using over the years. Now, you can get them on the website. There's a bunch of websites out there. What is it? LegalZoom.com or something like that. It's just a matter of looking and seeing, once you get it, if it applies to the laws in Maryland. That's all. Yes. Is the mastermind class only held on Saturday and Sunday? Which I had to tell you what the mastermind is all about first and foremost. The mastermind isn't just a class. The mastermind is a combination of one-on-one coaching, mentoring, and a mastermind all rolled into one for 1 year. On the one-on-one coaching side of it, you get myself as your mentor. You get Brittany Calloway as a mentor. You get Bill Fell as a mentor. And you get also Valerie Scott as a mentor. Brittany Calloway, well, let's start with Bill Fell. Bill Fell has been in the business for 40 plus years. He's a gentleman, like I said, I first met him going to Florida to talk to our mentors. He's an expert on all kinds of creative strategy stuff. Valerie Scott, there's no one more experienced when it comes to bank REOs and short sales. And Brittany Calloway, the systems queen. She was sitting in the audience, and just like you guys are today. I've been mentoring her for a number of years now, and she's at the point right now where she's done over 40 plus deals, raised over $10 million in private financing, and it started just sitting right here in the audience of a Real Deal meetup event. Those are your mentors, and of course myself. On the one-on-one coaching side, it's unlimited. There's no time frame where you can call me. Anytime during the day. I mean, I get calls at 7 o'clock in the morning. I get calls at 10 o'clock at night. One of the things I learned when I had my original coaching program is, in order for people to be successful, they need to be able to touch and speak and be with their coach. A coach shouldn't just coach them. They should be with them. That's the key to helping people be successful in this business. It came from my original coaching program, which was called Aspire America. That started in 2008. I had over 250 students in that program. And I swore, once I closed that program, that I would never do coaching again. My original students, Marcel Humphrey, Mark Witten, the director of housing for Maryland, was all part of my original class with Aspire America. So I said, based on that, because I was a full-time investor, and then I had all these students, and it took all the time out of my business. So I said I wouldn't do coaching anymore. And I haven't been doing coaching all the way up until 2014, which is when I changed because of Kenneth Gills. He said, Charles, we got this program, Real Deal Meetup. People want one-on-one coaching. Won't you come up with something? And that's how I came up with this program. One-on-one coaching, mentoring, and a mastermind all rolled into one. There will never be any more than 50 people in the program. You have to apply to be a part of the program. You can't just pay. The program costs $5,000. You can't just pay $5,000 to be a part of it. You're going to have an interview with me. And based on that interview, I'm going to accept you or not accept you. If you're accepted, you'll be able to sign up. If you're not accepted, you can reapply in 6 months. I don't care what your level of expertise is. I don't care if you've done 0 deals or if you've done 50 deals, like Christian and Mike. They come to me because this program is tailored to you. It's a personal program that's tailored to your level. So what you get with that, you get one-on-one coaching, which I mentioned. You get mentoring, which is a membership site we have. We have a Facebook private group you get a part of. You get the website. You get the actual level in the membership site. And you also get what we call webinars and detailed events that we have once a month or every other month. That's the mentoring side. And on the mastermind side, we have a quarterly meeting. every quarter at a local hotel like this. Next week is the quarterly meeting. That's 4 times a year. So you get all of that with the mastermind. Now you also get what's called the automated REI system. You get where it's a system that Brittany has created that will teach you how to automate your business working with VAs. You'll get the actual training videos for your VAs. So doing the stuff we talked about up here, a lot of those are training videos that you can give to your VAs so they can do the work for you. You get that. Plus you also get my Podio system where my team will go in and set up your Podio account for you. So it's running just like ours is. So that all comes with your membership, that $5,000. But once again, it's not about the cost. You have to apply and your application has to be approved. With the people that the year was up, I think we got 6 or 7 spots open, but it has to be you have to be approved. And that's the mastermind in a nutshell. Any other questions? Going once? Yes. Yeah. The question is medium to great neighborhoods. What do you mean? Medium to great neighborhoods is nothing more than what you call a neighborhood class. In commercial, they have what's called A, B, C, and D class. A class is the higher end neighborhoods like Mount Vernon. B class could be a neighborhood sort of like Canton. C class could be a neighborhood like Gardenville. D class could be a neighborhood like North Avenue. So A, B, C, D class, based on that neighborhood class, it's going to tell me which type of strategy I can do in that neighborhood. Yes, it may be changing, but I'm not the person that's going to be there when they haven't changed yet. I'll wait till it starts to really change. Next. In my opinion, when it comes to what I consider B class, it's C. At the most, I would give it a B minus. Any more questions? Yes. As people year get up. So when a person's year is up, we'll accept applicants. That's why we only got 6 or 7 right now. Truth of the matter, the two that their membership is up, they're going to sign back up another year. We would have had 9. I know they're going to sign up another year. But most of the time, when the year is up, that's when we bring in we'll see an email from me that you know we got applicants open. Any other questions?
When purchasing a list,
Yes.
you said we should go 3 to 4 levels.
Yes.
What are those levels again?
For example, when purchasing a list, what are the 3 to 4 levels? Absentee owners, in a particular zip code, with equity in the property, high income to debt ratio. It could also be a large amount of trades, credit trades, and so on. Any other questions?
Can you have the people who got the money raise their hand again?
Anybody who is doing private financing, raise your hand. Any other questions?
Next weekend, the quarterly meetup?
Yes, next weekend is the mastermind meeting for the mastermind members. That's correct. Yes. I can't hear you. Say it again. People who are doing buying and holding, raise your hand. Any other questions? Going once? Going twice? Yes. I don't know Infusionsoft. And as a matter of fact, the question is, I know you do it for Podio. What about Infusionsoft? Infusionsoft is a email marketing, and it's more than that, email marketing platform for advanced marketers. In fact, there's a reason why they call Infusionsoft Confusionsoft. It is extremely difficult. What I use that I think is just as good is something called ActiveCampaign. And ActiveCampaign give me a lot of different what you call behavioral segmentation, motivational segmentation, web page segmentation, and so on. So I use a program that I think is as equal to Infusionsoft. It's called ActiveCampaign.
Charles, does that sync with Podio? Do you sync them?
Yes, it can sync with Podio. Yes.
Do you do consulting outside
Oh, absolutely. I work with a lot of business owners who hire me for consulting. Individuals like Bill Fell, Mike Green, a lot of companies around the country hire me for consulting. Yes. Any real estate agents in the room? Mm-hmm. Going once? Yes, Annie. The mastermind? $5,000. Going once? Go.
Regarding the FIFA law.
Yes, PIFA. Protection of Homeowner and Foreclosure Act.
So if somebody is 60 days or more late,
Yes.
like, I cannot offer to buy their house if they're still living in it.
If they're still living in it, you can't offer to buy their house. You have to tell them they have to get a real estate agent, and then you can buy it from the real estate agent.
Could I just move them out of their house?
You cannot do it. No. If you move them out of their house, you'll be moving in jail.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Guaranteed rent.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any kind of legal restrictions as to the number of units a property can
Guaranteed rent. Is there any legal description in regards to the tenant, or should you say the boarding house? Is that what you're talking about?
Not really, but like, let's say an owner had a 15-unit building and I wanted to...
That's master leasing. Because you're going into commercial now. We'll go into a master leasing with that. Mm-hmm.
Considering doing that, yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Going once, going twice, let's go home. Thank you.
Quick question.
Yes, sir.
This is in Reservoir Hills.
Uh-huh. I know that area.
Okay,
yeah. What's the numbers look like?
We offer 115.
Okay. How many units? Is it 6?
6.
Yep. Okay. What's the unit count? What's the unit mix? How many? 1 bedroom, 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms? Oh, 2 bedrooms, not bad. 2 ones?
$1,000.
Vacant or occupied right now?
Verify the 2-1 as far as 1 bed.
No, I mean, are they vacant or occupied right now?
Oh, it's vacant. It has to be rehabbed.
Got it. Okay. You send me all the information already?
I'll send it to you.
I'll take a look at it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
We want to apply for masterminds and where like a couple. Is it like separate?
A couple comes with you.
Okay.
Hey, God, somebody just asked me a question. If you apply for the mastermind, can you bring a partner with you? Yes. You can bring your business partner or your wife. Both of them will have the same equal membership.
Okay. And then do we like interview together or how does that work?
It depends on how you want to do it. It's up to you.